All right, first I'm going to go over what you need to represent both factions of Spain and how to make your maps and your overlays. In the description of this episode, there will be a link to a Google Drive folder. In that Google Drive folder, there will be the Spanish Civil War side map. There will be the file for this. There will also be the file for the rules, as well as a frequently asked questions. And those will be in there. And then there will be if you don't want to print a new map with this on there, there will be some files to make an overlay for yourself for either out of box 3.1 or 4.1. We don't have a 4.31 because Sired completely redesigned how the borders were with that version, so we just haven't gotten around to that. I'm not sure if we will, but maybe. Anyway, these early prototypes, if that's what they are, will not be included. Don't ask for them. I will not be supplying them. But anyway, if you want the full map, if you want our full map, which will have our Spain on it. By the way, side note, the roundel placement of these two where they're swapped, we were in a hurry to get this printed, and this was a mistake that slipped through the cracks. Our current versions, the overlays, the main map, etc., this is corrected, so don't worry about that. But if you want the full map file with which will also have the roundels for the neutrals, it will have our Spain, it will have our Turkey, which has been updated slightly to have the Ankara capital for Turkey right there. And that's basically it, I think. Yeah, so if you want our map file, just email me at moosecowhq@gmail.com. Email me proof of payment to siredblood that you prove to me with like a screenshot, similar to what Lieutenant Dan has done. Email me a screenshot of that, just proof of payment to siredblood, the $20 for his map file. Email that to me, and I will send you to I will share a private, separate folder for that. Also on this note, if you have any questions or ideas or comments or whatever, feel free to email those to me as well. Again, my email will be moosecowhq@gmail.com. Okay, now I'm going to go into detail on how to make the side maps and the overlays. So, I recommend, once I started making overlays and like laminating things, I haven't stopped. It's a lot of fun. So get yourself a guillotine, one of these guys. Make sure not to chop your fingers off when you're doing this. But get one of these, and then take your printer. To ensure best quality, I recommend putting a fresh ink in your printer, and take the file from our Google Drive folder and print it on a standard sheet of paper at full image quality. On plain paper, and that's what I did. My goal with this was to be able to make this so that somebody could just print this at home. They wouldn't need to go to a print shop. I mean, you can, if you want this much bigger, if you want it larger, you can get it printed. But the goal was that you wouldn't need to necessarily go to a print shop to get it printed. You can just make it at home, and it's a lot of fun to do this. So print this on a standard sheet of paper at the full image on a 100% image of the image on a standard sheet of paper to make it as big as possible. Get a guillotine, cut the sides off, make it nice and straight, and you'll want to probably trim just like a little bit of the image just so make sure you got it and you don't have like a sliver of white. Then you get one of these guys. It's like a hole puncher, but it's just for trimming corners. And I'll put the links on these in the video description as well. Link of this and what I did with this and so on and so forth. So this is like a hole puncher, but it just trims corners. So you can do large, medium, small. What I did was small on the image itself. And then once I laminated it, I did medium. So now the corners look pretty nice. Looks pretty legit, right? Makes it way easier, because before I would trim the corners with scissors, and it's almost a guarantee that you'll screw it up and not make it perfect. And this is just hole punch, hole punch, hole punch, hole punch. Get on with your day, So good stuff. So yeah, trim it. Get some laminating pouches. Get a laminator. And I got this off Amazon. I'm sure there's a million different versions you can. Doesn't necessarily matter. This is, because it's standard paper, you want to do 5mm thickness, not 3. It'll be a little wavier with 3. And then also if when you make this and it doesn't come out quite right, it's a little wavy, just let it cool, and then you can stick it through again, and that will help kind of smooth it down. Just do that again and again until you get it right. But you know, don't do it too hard. Or sorry, not too hard, but too often too fast. Because with like this version right here, I mean, maybe it's not coming up here, but they kind of got a little, the lamination got a little screwed up here because I put this one through a few too many times. But that was the only time this, I've made a bunch of these, and that's the only time this has happened because I just did it too much, probably too quickly. Anyway, so that is how you make the side map. And then you need your components. So kind of copying HBGs, and what most people do for the factions of Spain, yellow for nationalists, and plum for the Republicans. So obviously here's my Spain box. I like to use these guys. They're most of these are from, most of this is from actually pretty much all of this is from historical board gaming. These guys are from historical board gaming, Axis Minor units. They're very cool, but it's very rare that HBG actually has these guys in stock. So more than likely, you'll probably end up with just these dudes instead, which is fine. But I just like, you know, I like the pose of these guys when able. And you got the plum dudes for the plum Russians for the Republicans. Same thing with the artillery. I like these ones for the nationalists. I know there's another yellow artillery, but I prefer these. And then you got your mechanized infantry. You got kind of two options for the Republicans, so I got some of each. And you got your various tanks for the nationalists and the Republicans. Let's see. I guess it depends on how big or how small you want to go. Yeah, so both of them, for me, both of them have two options of tanks to go for. But that's up to you. And then planes, strategic bombers, transports, nationalist transports, Republican tactical bombers, nationalist destroyers, nationalist cruisers can all be gotten from HBG. Now, if you don't like to paint, you could probably use Japanese units for the nationalists instead. One thing you'll notice is that for the nationalists and the Republicans, they don't make this color AAA, so I had to paint these. I also had to paint subs and Republican destroyers and cruisers. You don't need battleships or aircraft carriers because our rule is that they cannot build, neither side can build capital ships. They just do not have the income. You'll also need to repaint Republican transports and nationalist tactical bombers. So for all of these guys, all of these things, I used more Russian pieces that I got from HBG, and I primed, painted, and clear-coated these. And what I used was, for paint at least, Tamiya TS16 yellow and Tamiya TS35 lavender. The lavender is really nice. If I did this all over again, I might have gone with a different yellow because these yellows, this is much more school bus yellow by comparison to the bright yellow that these are necessarily. But this lavender actually looks really nice. It actually looks better than by comparison. The HBG one is a little more dull by comparison. This just looks, hopefully you can focus a little bit. Yeah, it just looks really nice. The detail just seems to pop out to me at least. I don't know, but yeah. So that's that. I don't know why HBG doesn't make Russian ships in lavender and various colors, but plum. I mean, sorry, but you know what I'm saying. Then you'll also need for Spain, you'll also need an air base, 1 minor complex, and 1 naval base. How you choose to represent those obviously is up to you. You'll also need, maybe, these are optional, a set of these blockade things for the Spanish Civil War. And you'll need, this is also optional, but I like to incorporate these. You'll need these dice, or just other dice, but you'll with numbers on them. But I like to use these because of the images. You'll need these for the Spanish Civil War. I'll get into that in a bit. You'll also, for the Spanish Civil War only, need cavalry. So these are just the Republicans are just painted HBG cavalry. If you don't want to paint these, you can just use the Russian HBG Russian ones. The color is close enough where it doesn't really matter too much, and the same thing goes for like the naval ships and stuff like that. You can just use this. If you don't want to paint, you can just use Russian pieces. It's really not that bad. You get the gist that they're Republicans. And then for the nationalists, I didn't want to have to paint these, so I didn't. This is just a cavalry piece from a basic game of Risk. So chances are you actually might have these already if you haven't integrated them into your game. You might have these if you have a copy of Risk, so just go grab them. Yeah, so cavalry, they cost 4. Same thing with they operate the same with China. Attack at a 2, can blitz and defend at a 1. And you'll also need some Portuguese units, and I like to use them with blonde. And once they're activated, they become yellow. And I use these maroon Russians for like Republican Portuguese units. That's for more of the post-war Civil War. You'll need those. But that is kind of my idea. I like maroon to represent Mongolia and Republican Portugal. So it's like those you'll see that they're similar rules. I'll get into those in a bit. These are just task force markers, which is already new thing that I'm kind of working on for myself to make some kind of cool task force markers. So you don't need these necessarily. That's just flair, and I'm sure someone's going to ask about them if I don't address what they are. Anyway, so yeah, these are the components, more or less.